I started out my career in human services, kind of following in the footsteps of my parents. My father ran a mental health center for, I believe, over 40 years. My mother was a social worker. My sisters work in that field as well. So I was doing what was known to me, but also work that I felt was really important. I was able to help people directly on a day-to-day basis. But what happened to me is what happened to lots of people in that field. I was able to advance in my career and climb the ladder, if you will, a little bit. But it got to be a lot more responsibility to be frank, not a lot more pay. It was quite a stressful job, but really the final straw for me was that I found myself working with staff far more than I was working with clients. And I really like working with clients directly, working with people directly, helping them on a day-to-day basis. And what was sort of the impetus for going from human services over to real estate was that my program, the program that I ran in my first career, had a housing component to it. We would help adults with disabilities find housing, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the job. I knew also from other aspects of my life that I enjoy negotiation. I am good at math. That was always my best subject in school. So I was like, why don't I try out this real estate thing? For better or for worse, I would say one of the things about real estate is that the barrier to entry is pretty low. So I did some networking. I talked with some people in real estate who I knew and trusted. Seemed like it would be a really good fit. I took the test, I passed, and I was off and running from there.
The CEO's story.
So I find that when I'm in the office or when I'm at home, that's the time when I'm really digging into the data, when I'm crunching the numbers, if you will. I'm talking to the agent on the other side of the deal. I'm gathering intel. That's the time when I'm doing my homework. But when I'm with my clients, that's a different story. I want to be paying attention to them. I want to be listening far more than I'm talking. And I really want to be paying attention to what they're telling me, what they are gravitating towards, what they are liking, what they are not liking, what they are comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. And I find that when I'm able to really listen, I'm able to just get a better sense of where they are at as not just clients, but as human beings with the process, whether we are selling or buying or investing. And then what I'm able to do is I'm able to combine that sort of human intel, the human side of things, with the homework that I've already done, the work that I've already prepared, the numbers that I've already calculated, and I can sort of present back to the client what I feel like might be the best possible way forward. And sometimes people agree with how I advise and how I guide. Often I'm finding, especially more so these days, they do tend to agree, but if they don't, that's okay as well. And we can figure out a path forward that is the best possible outcome or is going to yield the best possible outcome based on the numbers and based on sort of the human element.
The CEO's story.
I just feel like the real estate industry really needed to be less of a industry driven by the used car salesman mindset. I feel like that I don't view my job as convincing people to do something that they don't want to do. I feel like my role is to guide and to advise and explain where I'm coming from, whether that is based on my own experiences in real estate, or whether it's based on the numbers and the information that I've gathered or the intel that I've gotten from a seller or a buyer or another agent. My goal is to tell people what I think is the best way forward, as opposed to insisting that they do what I tell them to do. And I just find that approach is far better received than the high pressure sales tactics that I would love to say it's a cliche, but I think that it's actually quite true, that there are lots of agents out there who are just looking to close deals and meet their numbers and make a certain amount of money in any given year. And don't get me wrong, I'm in sales, I want to sell houses, I want to meet my goals as well, but not if it's at the expense of doing what's best for my clients. Real estate agents have a fiduciary responsibility, and I take that responsibility very seriously, whether it's clients with a strong budget or a lower budget, or a seller who has a $3 million Victorian or a $300,000 condo. We have a fiduciary responsibility to all clients, and I try to practice with that in mind every day.
The CEO's story.
So I grew up in Newton. I lived all over the Boston area. I now own my home in Malden. My office is in Melrose. So I've been here my whole life. My first brokerage was in Brighton. My second brokerage was in Cambridge. So just with both professional experience and personal experience, just having, dare I say, Boston in my blood. This community has been a part of my life for really all of it, with the exception of 4 years in college, but even that was in Maine, with the vast majority of the student body being from New England. This is where I've always lived. This is what I love. This is what I know. I will say at this point I do primarily focus on kind of Boston North and the North Shore. Any agent, in my opinion, who tells you they know every part of Massachusetts is not telling you entirely the truth. We all specialize somewhere. And for me, at this point, that's primarily the Malden, Melrose, Medford area. But yeah, just by the nature of growing up in Newton, living in and around Boston, I have a familiarity with more communities than just those three, for sure.
The CEO's story.
So I feel like what sets my strategy apart is that I am able to listen to my clients in kind of a deep, intensive way and get a sense of what they are specifically looking for. I am not someone who's going to ascribe a strategy or a plan that worked for a client 5 years ago to this new client that I have. I'm going to listen to what their goals are, what they're looking for. I'm going to pay attention to what personality they have and what communication style they have. So I'm going to cater how we approach, whether it's a home search or a home sale, to the type of person that they are and what their goals are.
The CEO's story.
I would say one of the things that comes with the territory, no pun intended, when you're a real estate agent is that you are working every day. I have shown houses on Christmas. I have bought my own house on Thanksgiving. I have made offers on New Year's Day, and I'm not necessarily saying that as a point of pride or that that's all that different from other real estate agents or whatever, or what other realtors have to do, but it speaks to being available and that being just an important part of the job, not just because you need to get that offer in underneath the deadline, but that your clients need to know that you're there for them, both literally and figuratively. So being responsive and picking up that call, even if it is at 8:30 at night on a Sunday, you need to be able to do that. Why? Because it establishes trust with your clients, and you are not just there for them, but you're providing good guidance and good advice and providing solid feedback. But you need to be able to do that, in my opinion, not just from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, but on nights, on weekends. That's not to say that you can't set boundaries. I certainly do. But I just know that one of the reasons why clients tend to like to work with me is that they know that I'm going to be there for them when they need me.
The CEO's story.
What I learned from my previous experience is that you need to be someone who has a whole lot of empathy for the human experience and where other people are coming from. Something I always tell people is that I couldn't do any type of sales, but I can do real estate because buying and selling a home is often one of the most stressful transactions of a person's life, one of the most stressful experiences of someone's life. And I feel like by having the experience in my old job where I was working with a disabled adult population to help them find work, help them find housing, help them find educational services, that prepared me to be able to handle stress at a pretty high level, whether it's my own or whether it's my clients, so I can keep kind of a steady hand and have an even keel temperament even when things go wrong during the course of a transaction, which happens all the time. But that's okay, but we manage it, we work together, and so I feel like I was, to use a sports analogy if I may, I feel like I was warming up in the on-deck circle with 2 or 3 bats before I got into real estate, and now I'm able to handle those types of situations with relative ease.
The CEO's story.
When I started out my career in real estate, I was really grinding rentals and doing a large volume of those. So it all sort of happened naturally. Of course, when you're doing rentals, you're interacting with both landlords and tenants. So I would say the landlords are sometimes, not always, but often seasoned investors. And real estate is a relationship business, so I got to know not just how to rent an apartment, but I got to know the people behind it. I got to know the landlords personally and established a close connection with them and maintain many of those relationships to this day. But I also maintain relationships with the tenants. And of course, not always, but much of the time, first-time home buyers rented prior. So simply by keeping in touch with people, whether it be through my newsletter or of course calls or texts or emails, just staying in touch with people, relationships naturally developed. And I am someone who just always enjoys variety, and working with a first-time home buyer is much different than working with a seasoned investor to crunch the numbers and find their next building that they want to buy, but I enjoy it really all the same. And that's kind of how I got to this point today, where I'm not doing quite as many rentals or pure rentals anymore, but by starting out as that in the first months, first few years of my real estate business, that led me to where I am now.
The CEO's story.
Excellence means to me a happy life, and not just my own, of course, but happy lives for my clients, for the people who I serve. I am just so lucky to have the clients that I have, and have them all just be such tremendous people. The colleagues that I get to work with, the teachers that I have now, the teachers that I've had along the way. I feel like excellence is achieved really solely by those who we surround ourselves with, and I'm just incredibly fortunate and so grateful to have been surrounded by all of those wonderful people, and still to this day it just persists, and honestly with each year it just gets better. So excellence is not meeting sales goals or selling as many houses as possible. It's a happy life, and I get to make that possible for clients on a day-to-day basis, and feel like I've achieved it for myself as well.
This is the CEO's story.